Hi, this is Jacob, and today I'd like to talk to you about The Machine Upstairs, a short game demo and my thesis project at DePaul. The idea behind The Machine Upstairs was to take the things I loved about immersive simulation games and adventure games and put them together in a novel way and on a small scale. The footage you're about to see was recorded by my programming and design partner, Matt Meredith. I don't have anything in particular I'd like to talk about, so I'm just going to react to the footage as I watch it for the first time. And hopefully we'll see some interesting stuff. Thanks for watching. Yeah, this is the intro screen. It's incomplete, but it gets the job done. That's really all that's important. So in the start of the game, the player and the player character have no idea what's going on. They're waking up in a room without any real information as to what they've done to arrive there, or where they are for that matter. And this room looks pretty good, all things considered.
Hello.
Here's a phone call.
Speaking. You and I will be working together today.
We will?
Your first directive is to exit this room. I trust that this won't be too difficult for you.
I've exited rooms before.
Then you should be something of an expert. Contact me via the intercom in the hallway for further instruction.
Weird.
This is obviously me speaking here, and my partner, Matt Meredith, who did all of the engineering on this game.
Remember what cassettes look like.
So that cassette player is represented in the upper left-hand corner, or along the top row, where all the other inventory goes.
Wonder what door this opens.
Now, I'm going to pause it here and just note that Matt, who's playing the game right now, actually, had the choice to open that door in more than one way, actually. And that's a philosophy behind The Machine Upstairs in general. The idea that many of the obstacles in your way can be solved in more than one way. And that if you understand the basics of the rules in The Machine Upstairs, you can begin to devise solutions on your own. So Matt could have easily explored a little bit more and looked for a way out of that apartment. And this would have actually not only just had an impact on his own playthrough, but how the game responds vis-a-vis the conversations the player has with the robot character voiced by me. We have a lot of notes and written items in the game. Some are for pure storytelling reasons. Others actually indicate what the player might be able to do, or how they might go about solving something. There's a narrative that runs throughout this small demonstration. The player can choose to investigate as much of it as they'd like, or not at all, and sort of barrel through the game. This radio works, by the way. Right now it's playing music. One of the things we didn't really have time to achieve was a more realistic soundscape. There's very basic 3D sound in this game. Another key to unlock a door, but of course that door could have been unlocked in even more ways than the previous door Matt stepped through. Here's another conversation.
Impressive.
Now, the artificial intelligence character that I voice, Job, actually reacts to the way Matt got out of that room. We've used a pretty robust token system in this game, whereby every action or item or occurrence that the player experiences is registered by the game, and certain other occurrences or interactions will check to see if those previous occurrences have in fact occurred. And in this case, since Matt used a key to get out of the room before, the system is basically saying, good job, you did exactly what I asked. But had he taken a more creative route, which we'll see demonstrated shortly,
So what am I supposed to do now?
there would have been other dialogue options available to Matt, or other dialogue responses from the other character. As you can see here, there's something of a branching dialogue. Matt can choose to proceed through this conversation in a variety of ways. again, there are consequences to what he's doing, but there's also an element of pure player expression. We wanted to make sure that since the character is essentially the player, we wanted the player to be able to decide how they sound in this world. And as a matter of fact, you can play this game in Matt's voice or a female voice. And so there's even an additional layer of customization in this game.
Hello?
Hello, this is Joe speaking. You and I will be working together today.
We will?
Your first directive is to exit this room. I trust that this won't be too difficult for you.
I've exited rooms before.
Ah, then you should be something of an expert. Contact me via the intercom in the hallway for further instruction.
Weird.
Some more exploring through
Most people don't know that the contents of a spray paint can are highly
cabinets and
explosive.
such. Matt just picked up a spray paint can, which again, like the other items in this game, has multiple uses. What Matt is going to do here is perhaps the crowning achievement of the machine upstairs, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. As you know, and the player has already remarked on this, pressurized or aerosolized paint has a tendency to explode in certain situations, and we are going to use that knowledge to our advantage with this slightly glitched out animation. As you can see, a timer has gone on the microwave. You'll have to suspend your disbelief a little bit here as the microwave is not hooked up to any electricity, but since this is a demonstration and not quite a full-blown video game, I hope you'll allow for it. Ah, yes. Exploding microwaves. As I said, the crowning achievement. And here's another thing that players will happen upon as they make their way through this demo. We place a series of hallucinations, for lack of a better term. These are all keyed to location triggers throughout the space. Again, they do affect the narrative. Sometimes the player will remark upon them.
Okay, what the hell is ISPT?
Here the player is out in what we call the midsection, which is essentially a hallway. That vending machine works, is hooked up to electricity. There is a working electricity system in this game. If you deactivate it, it has consequences and advantages.
Pay the rent, pay the rent. I'll pay it when they fix my goddamn stove. I'll pay it when that bitch across the hall stops giving me the side eye.
Matt is now listening to a audio cassette that he's picked up, which is playable through the Walkman he got at the beginning of the demonstration. These cassettes don't just offer story information. They can be used to unlock the sound locks, which are being displayed right now on screen. The appropriate voice will open that lock, whereas other voices, other sounds will not. And it should be noted that that sound lock responds to actual in-game sound. There's not a canned response to a specific audio clip in the game. It actually listens to everything that's going on in the game. And so were we to take this further, we might be able to use that for all sorts of different purposes. Right now, Matt is messing with the electricity in the space. This will actually deactivate the security, which Matt already blew up with a microwave. So he doesn't have to worry about that. Of course, can't totally deactivate the electricity. Otherwise, the intercoms wouldn't work. And then if they didn't work, you wouldn't be able to get anywhere in this demo. But again, please suspend some measure of
We'd like to evict him.
disbelief.
Unfortunately, the laws in New York City are very, shall we say, tenant-friendly. This makes it something of a challenge to begin the eviction process. However, there are certain terms that, if broken, would allow us to proceed unhindered.
Nice. Taking out the trash.
The player can choose how they want to express themselves in this situation, opting to be a cold-hearted bastard or a sympathetic person, or perhaps a more neutral kind of flabbergasted player who has no idea what's going on.
And if I don't?
also accept the eviction of Jennifer Sebring.
This
Why do you want these
conversation reveals the true nature of this artificial intelligence character. It's a much less ambitious part of the game than we had hoped. There was a lot more planned for this character and the wider game. But right now, I think we got across the nefarious nature of the realty company that this artificial intelligence character works for and the character themselves. But they're basically giving the main mission to the player at this point, which is to evict one of the two tenants. But the player can actually choose to evict none of the tenants, both of the tenants, one of the tenants. And they can do that in multiple ways. And those multiple ways have a bearing on the final ending of the game, which at this point is pretty meager in terms of endings. It's just a text screen at the end of the game, but they are all different. And they indicate different paths for the story to take beyond the scope of this demonstration. I guess Matt is opting to avoid that lock there, but there's working locks all over the game, and these can be exploded or solved or ignored as they are now.
Must be from a while back. Not a bad looking guy, actually.
This photograph represents, again, a story element, but also a piece of evidence that the player can collect to ultimately deliver to the realty company at the end of the game. Just because it sits in their inventory does not mean they have to give it up at the end of the game, but they can choose to give it up, which is interesting. Matt just, again, found another way to mess with the security in the space, but again, he's already blown up the security camera. But while we're here, why don't we just talk about security real quickly? In a situation where the security camera is actually active and working, it has several security states that indicate to the player what level of alert the security is on, which affects doors being opened and closed. And the player can actually use the override button manually or throw stuff at it to deactivate that security. Again, if the security was actually online and if the camera hadn't been exploded previously. Now you can see that the vending machine is completely blank, and this is because the electricity has been deactivated. Had Matt not pulled the fuse out of that fuse box, he would be able to purchase a variety of items from that vending machine, including items that upgrade his strength, which allow him to move objects and find secret passageways, a UV flashlight, which allows him to find secret messages in the game. Now he's picking up lockpicks.
Hey, a lockpick set. Always wanted one of these. Weird to see one laying around like this.
So that was a little bit of the machine upstairs. There are many different ways to explore this demo, many different systems to uncover and use to your advantage as the player, and a little bit of story guiding you along the way. There's a lot more that we left on the cutting room floor, but after 2 years of work, it's been a great learning experience, and I think, and I hope, it shows in the final product. Thanks for watching.